Alrighty, so in our game so far, we've created some stores, some little, we'll call them these lava blocks that damage you, um, some coins so you can get money. You could spend money on a heal. You could spend money to unlock the dodge ability. Um, what I want to do, not in this video, but in the next one, is add some maybe enemies that respawn that you can get coins from, and then buy upgrades, then maybe progress to further and further areas with more and more difficult enemies, something like that. But for now, I think we just need to do the visuals on the player because I'm tired of him being just a blue ball. So I'm going to do a top-down character, kind of like a lot of IO games. So if I Google IO games, this is a common uh, like subgenre of game that uses a lot of top-down characters. And if we look at these characters, they're very simple. Um, there's a lot of these games where it's just very simple. It's like a circle, and there's something that shows which direction he's facing. Snake IO, there's like a circle. There's something that, like his eyeballs just show him what direction you're facing. So we're going to make a simple top-down character like this. This is more complicated. There's like a little hat on him, but it's still the same idea. You have just like a circle, and you have something to show which direction the circle's facing. It's a really common way in these popular IO games to do a top-down character, and it's also, the reason it's so popular is because it's like the simplest way. So we're going to try to do a character design like that for our game, and I haven't thought at all about what I'm going to do for my character, but I'm just going to start drawing. So let me create file, new, I'll just stick with 256 by 256, and we'll make our guy a circle, and let's do him in black and white, because if we do him in black and white, we can actually color him in game. If we do him in any other color, then we won't be able to give him different colors in game. So I'm going to start with a big circle, and my circle tool might be glitching out a little bit, but that's okay. Let me see if I could bucket this in. Okay, so I have this big white circle. That's what I'm starting with. That's going to kind of be my base. Now a couple of simple things. Maybe I can give him, I don't know. I've genuinely never tried this before, so I'm just gonna mess around with things. Maybe I'll give him two big eyes, so that we could see which direction he's facing. And he might be kind of goofy looking, but that's okay. I don't mind having a silly, cartoony, goofy looking guy. And honestly, maybe I'll animate his pupils separately later. I'll give him pupils for now. Give him some pupils. And you know what? He should actually have a black outline. I'm gonna start over from the beginning. We really want our character to stand out, so we want him to have a lot of contrast. So I'm gonna do it in black and white in this app, and then we can color him in game. But I want to make sure he has a black outline. And in fact, maybe I should do like a double outline to make him stand out even more, so he has a thicker outline. Yeah, I think that's gonna make him stand out more. Maybe even try like a, yeah, maybe like a really thick outline. Okay, I'm gonna use this really thick outline, just because I really want him to stand out in game. And actually, part of it's getting cut off. Let me make that correct. So I've set my pixel size up to 8, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'll drag it down from this corner. Let's do from here to here. That should be a pretty perfect circle. That's fine. Okay. So we have, that'll be like the base of my character. I'm just going to fill him with white. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'll give him two big googly eyes. Just because, why not? I'm going to make one eye significantly bigger than the other one. He'll be kind of silly looking, which is fine. And well, now that I think about it, when I color him in game, it's going to do one solid color over his entire body, so maybe I shouldn't do that. I'll make one black and white version, and then I'll show us the two different ways to color our character. So I have 2 eyeballs. I'm gonna look at some more examples to maybe get some idea of what I might want to give him. These are really simple. They're literally just circles. This one's more complicated. Helicopter one's more complicated. I could make him like a helicopter guy. I want like one more detail. Maybe like a little hat or something. Because I have little pirate hats on this one. It's kind of like what I'm thinking. Like just give them like a little hat or something. Some of them don't even have that. Maybe I'm okay with just the googly eyes. And for mine, I'll give him a little hat. Let's give him a little hat. I'll give him like the perspective on this is gonna be stupid, but I'll give him like a little top hat like Abraham Lincoln. So he'll wear it like this. Why not? I don't know. Maybe just like this. I don't know. I don't even know if that looks like a hat. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, it doesn't really look like a hat. It should be like covering his head more. Maybe I will... Maybe I could also just do the hat in game. I could make a hat and I could just put it on him in here. I could make a separate hat object. And then you can like lose or gain hats or something. We're just thinking. Thinking about hair maybe. Oh, that looks stupid. Maybe he's facing... I should have thought more about this before I got started and just had you guys stare at me thinking for 5 minutes. I'm going to stick with the hat. Let's give him a crown. That's a simple thing. He'll just have a crown on his head. Damn, but if I'm doing a hat, maybe I should do it as a separate sprite and put it on in game. Yeah, that's what I'll do. And now I'm even thinking about doing his eyes separately too, so I could color him in game more dynamically and have a character that's almost entirely built in game. Yeah, let's... You know what? Let's leave this art platform for a second. Let's just look in game for a second. So I have my character. I have my player. He has a camera attached to him. I could theoretically right-click in here. I could just give him like a 2D object, sprite, circle, make it like 0.1, 0.1. And I could just kind of make eyeballs like this. Could do something like that to make eyeballs, and then that would leave me more open to doing other design stuff. Maybe I can give them like an outline like this. So this could be a... I think for my game, I think I'm gonna do it like this. And then I could change his color by just going to player and dragging this around. And he could basically just exist. He could have all of his art just generated in-game by adding sprites to his sheet. So I didn't actually end up using this thing that I was drawing. And his layers are messed up now, so I gotta internally do some layer stuff. So my player order in layer 2. This eyeball ordering layer, let's just put it up to 3. This eyeball ordering layer, let's put it up to 3. His pupils, let's put them up to 4. And now we got to change one more thing. So I think he should probably always face the direction of the mouse, maybe. So I might go into player code and just write one more line of code to do that. And then we'll give him a hat spot on his head. Player, create empty hat spot. So if I give him this hat spot thing, this is an empty game object. And what I could do with it is I can make it so that the hat spot, if I can move it, why can't I move it? Where's my tool to, there it is. And maybe I put this hat spot like here, and then maybe I create like a hat object that connects to that hat spot as like a child, but we'll see that in a second. Let's make him face towards our mouse. So I just created some art for this guy. I want him to always face the direction of my mouse. I think that makes sense for my game. So I will go into his player code. So we'll look at his player controller, and we'll just go in update, and we'll make his rotation face the direction of my mouse. Now, we have a reference to a bunch of stuff. We know like his rigid body. We should be able to find where the mouse is. I don't remember exactly how to make him face towards the mouse. My code might be a little different than yours. Don't stress that. So it should be like something like, you know what? When I'm not sure exactly how to write code, I ask ChatGPT. I need a piece of code to make a game object face a mouse pointer. I need a few lines of code that when run will make a game object rotate to face towards a mouse pointer. Here's the Unity C# script. You might have to specify what coding language to do. So mouse position, direction, angle is going to be math, and it's going to find the x direction and y direction. Radian 2 degrees, so this is basically finding what angle I should rotate to face, so that I'm facing this direction. And then quaternion.euler is just how I'm always going to set my angles. So let's try this. I'm going to copy this in. I'm going to paste it. Simple enough. So again, let's just read what this says. This is vector 3, the mouse position. So this is the position of the mouse on my screen. So screen to world point. So my camera has a function called screen to world point that's going to find the position of my mouse in the world. Then I have this next variable is called direction. It's going to take my mouse position and it's going to subtract my transform position. And then the angle is going to find, this is some trigonometry stuff, but it's going to basically, this is the line of code that I would have needed to Google around for a little bit. It's basically doing a bunch of math using, you know, tangent lines and tangents to, you know, I honestly don't even know exactly what it's doing, but usually these things are right on the first try. And in the past, I would have had to go on documentation, gone on some forums, looked this up, but now ChatGPT can get us lines of code like that very quickly. So I updated my player code. Let's press play. Let's see if he follows my mouse around already. Let's see if that little thing worked. Okay, so we have good news and bad news. He is trying to follow my mouse around, but so is my camera. So he's spinning infinitely. So what do I have to do here? I'm thinking for a second. I could put both I'm gonna have to split some stuff up. I could just lock the position of my camera separately, and then that should work. So I might have to. I'll add a piece of code to my camera. This will be the simplest way to fix this error. Is I have my camera, and I will create a new code. Create model behavior script lock camera, and this will just lock the rotation of my camera. So update will just say, and if I do this incorrectly, I might have a mistake, but we'll just say that the rotation, transform.rotation is just going to equal 0. So camera update transform.rotation is just going to equal 0f. So now each frame, my character will rotate, and then my camera should always be on rotate F. I'm also going to set this to late update, just to make sure that happens after my player rotates. If I don't do that, I might have a glitch where like my player's like tweaking a little bit, like he'll be vibrating just a little bit as the camera like doesn't update at the right speed. Now I need to attach that code I made to my camera. And this was not a very, well-planned video, but we have the behavior we were looking for. I'll try to add a hat next. Okay, so we have some funky stuff going on. The camera is not centered on my player is the current problem, and then the next problem is that my player is at like an off angle. So let's set camera to 0, 0. Now that first problem is gone. I rotate smoothly. And now the next problem is the direction he's facing is 90 degrees the wrong way. So I'll go into the code and I'll just add 90 degrees to this. So player controller, let's try plus 90. And then if that doesn't work, we'll do minus 90. And then one of those two should work. And that offset is going to be based on where you put the... Oh yeah, so it was minus 90. Now he's always facing away from my camera. And this offset I'm adding here, it's always going to be at 90 degrees, plus 90, minus 90, or plus 180, minus 180, whatever. Those are the same thing at the end, but... and it's going to be based on which position you draw his eyes on. But now he's working. So now I have my character. He always faces towards my mouse. If I made like a console game, maybe I could have like a second stick, and that's what he would point towards instead. And we'd have to add some extra code for that, but we're not making a console game right now. And he could face different directions based on which way I'm looking. And that's pretty nice. I think, unfortunately, I am going to undo all of that and refilm this whole thing because it's not in the spirit of the video. You guys see me learning. I see you guys learning. It'll be fine. This is what we wanted. I want to also give him a hat that I could touch and pick up. I think that'll be one cool little quick thing. So my hat is just going to be, I'm going to create a new object called a hat. Let's create an empty object. Let's call it hat. And this I might turn into a prefab later. And let's do a 2D object, sprite, square. Let's put it on layer 2 so we can see it. I'll put it on layer 3 so it's on top of his head. And I'm going to make this try to look like a hat. So let's make it black. Let's change the size of it. And okay. That could be my hat. Why not? And my player has a hat spot, and that'll be where my hat goes. Let me just see. So if my hat becomes a child of hat spot, oh, it kept its position. That's fine. So maybe this will be my hat, and we should write a line of code that says like when I touch the hat, then the hat goes to the hat spot and then becomes a child of hat spot. That should work. So we don't have to do that. You could add it straight to your character. I'm gonna do code to pick up the hat. So this will be like a collectible or something. So I'll leave the hat over here for now. It doesn't really matter. And should I put the code in the player or in the hat? I could either write code in the player controller that says if I touch something, if it's tagged with hat, then make that game object a child of hat spot, or I could put code in the hat. Let's put the code in the player. Let's put code in the player, and our player controller is getting very full of stuff. But we need a reference to, so we'll do public game object hat spot, and we'll say when we collide with, so where's our collision? Fix update on trigger enter. We can make the hat a trigger. On trigger enter, we'll say if the collision dot game object dot compare tag is a hat, then we will say collision dot game object dot transform equals hat spot dot transform. So that'll set it to the hat spot's position. Dot position transform dot position. Okay, so this will set the game object. If we collide with the hat, this line of code will set that game object's position, transform position, to the hat spot on our player's transform dot position. We need to do one more thing. We need to make it a child. We need to say collision dot game object. So this is the object we're colliding with. Dot set parent dot parent. I need to set the parent. How do I set parent? Dot parent. I need a line of code, and I don't want to Google it, so I'm just going to ask ChatGPT. How can I use code to set the parent of an object? You could set the parent object using transform. Oh, okay, so it's in the transform. I was looking in the game object. So game object dot transform dot set parent. That's what I had tried to do. I just was looking in the wrong spot. Set parent to hat spot dot transform, maybe transform. Okay, so now when I collide with an object tagged with hat, if that hat's a trigger, that should be, then I'm going to set the position of that hat to my hat spot, and then I'm going to set the parent of that hat to my hat spot. So it'll move to that hat spot, and it'll stay there because that hat spot will become its parent. Let's save that. I need a reference in my game to hat spot. So pause the game, write this code down. We also added a reference to our hat spot. Now my player code needs to have the reference to its hat spot. And this hat needs to have, first of all, a collider. Good enough. And that collider needs to be a trigger. And it needs to be tagged as a hat. Add tag. HAT is hat. I need to give it that hat tag. And now if I press play, I believe I should be able to walk over and pick up this hat for my player. And that'll be our nice little part 7 video of... Uh-oh. Oh, my player is set... my offset is set on my camera. I need to set my camera position to 0, 0. There's other ways to do that. This is the way we're going to do it because it's the simplest way. And when I touch this hat, I put my hat on, but there is a problem. My hat is rotated. So same thing as before, there's some kind of offset, like 90-degree offset. I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going to grab the stuff in here, and I'm going to try to rotate it by 90 degrees. And obviously that didn't work. If I grab this whole thing, oh, I see. I need to set the rotation, not just the position. So I set the position, I never set the rotation. So the object I collide with, dot game object, dot transform, dot rotation is going to equal the hat spot's rotation. And that should work, as long as all of our hats are defaultly facing the same way as the player. So all your hats need to be facing the same direction when they're on the ground. or else there's going to be an error, which I can show us if you guys want. I'll show us the error. So I pick this up. That does actually work, but I just want to show us that if the hat is facing a different direction on the ground, I'm fairly sure that that's going to cause a problem. Let's look, though. Maybe it won't. Okay, that actually works, but wait one more time. Because if these two component hats inside of it are facing a slightly different direction, like let's just say they're upside down. So this looks the same. I just flipped them around. I believe there is an error here somewhere that's possible. It looks like it's working. Okay, maybe it all gets solved. Looks like it's all getting solved, so we're not going to worry about it. Obviously, if you ever have an issue, leave it in the comments. Let me know. I'm just kind of, you know, thinking through this as we make it. Not really having a big plan as we go on, but that'll be my simple little hat. Next time I'll give him, like, a sword or something. We'll give him a sword. Yeah, this looks cool for now. We'll save this. This will be my video. This is a little rambly one, but hopefully the next one I make it a little cleaner. Bye.